Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this a beautiful bobble blanket. This is so easy to do. Now for my white I use this Top Value James C. Brett. It's a double knitting yarn. That's a weight 3 if you're in the USA. I used this new King Cole denim, Simply Denim. This is a double knitting again and it's a weight 3. I've used a 4.5mm crochet hook, and if you're in the USA that is a 7.5 for you. I used these three colours. I used this shade. This one is called Pink Denim. The shade number is 5500. I used this Purple Denim. The shade number is 5501. This one is a Turquoise Denim, 5507. And the last one is this Black Denim, and it's shade number 5505. You can use any yarn you want. You can use any thickness of yarn. Just use the hook size. It will tell you on your label of the yarn that you've chosen. If you use thinner yarn, you'll get thinner bobbles. If you use thicker yarn, you'll get thicker bobbles. And it's only a 2-row repeat. This is the back of it. Now what I did was I started mine in this lilac one. It's purple. They call it purple. I've used this lilac one. Then I did white. I've done 3 sets of the lilac. I kept white in between. Then I used that one. And then that blue one. And the grey one. Now, it's really easy to do this. What I'm going to do after I've done the grey, I haven't finished my blanket. I'm going to go back to do the blue. I'll do the blue there. Then I'll do that pink one and I'll put that there in between the white. And then I'll finish with this lilac one. Now it is a little bit of a stash buster because it's got 5 stitches in each bobble. So far I have still just used one of each of the colours. I've got half of my yarn left, and in between I'm putting the white, and so far I'm on the second ball of the white. So this should be enough to do this repetition again. So I should have enough to do my blue again, and then my pink, and then my lilac. I'm not going to do that one. I'm just leaving that one in the middle. I've got my 3 rows done of that, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do blue here, then I'll do the red, and then finish with the lilac with the white in between. It's a really pretty blanket. It's really easy as well, so I'm going to show you how to do it. So for this project you can use any yarn you want and use the hook size it tells you on your label. Now you're going to need an even number of chains. Keep your chain, your foundation chain, slack. Don't do it too tight. If you can't do a slack chain, use one size bigger hook and then go back to the hook that you're going to use. You've got to keep this foundation chain quite slack and do an even number of stitches. So pull your stitch up just a little bit. That'll help to keep the chain slack. So I've got 1, 2, so I've done a small sample of 20 stitches. We're going to do a UK double crochet into each stitch. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. So go into the second stitch, miss the first stitch and go into the second stitch. That is not a stitch, that is just your loop on your hook. So count 1 and go into the second one. We're going to do 1 UK double crochet, that's 1 USA single into each stitch all the way along. So I've got my first row done. You're going to chain 1 and turn. Now that is not a stitch. It's just a chain 1. Now we're going to do the pattern. The pattern is only 2 rows. You've got 1 row of UK double crochets, that's singles in the USA, and 1 row of this bobble stitch. So into the very first stitch, put 1 double crochet. That's a single if you're in the USA. Now we're going to do the bobble. This is going to be the back of your blanket. If you see with this one, we make the bobbles on the back so they pop out to the front. We're going to put UK treble crochets. That's USA doubles. We're going to put 5 into that next stitch and keep each one on your hook. So into the stitch, that's 1, so keep that there. That's 2. Now that loop doesn't count, that's not a stitch. So you've got 1 and 2. 3, 4 and 5. You've got 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 1 loop. That makes 6. So that's a loop and you've got 5 stitches. Yarn over, pull through them all and then do a double crochet down here. That's a single if you're in the USA, in the next stitch. Now into the next stitch, do that bobble, and that is the way the bobble looks. So into the next stitch and do your 5 stitches. So that's 1, 2, pull through, that's 3, 4 and 5. You've got 5 stitches and that extra loop there, so that makes 6 loops. Yarn over, come through all the loops and double or single crochet into there, whatever country you're in. So you'll do your bobble stitch in the next one. That's 5 stitches. 1, 2, keep it on your hook. 3, 4 and 5. Yarn over, come through all of those and down into the next stitch. And you've got your bobbles. You'll do that all the way to the end of your chain, and your last stitch should be a UK double crochet. That's a single if you're in the USA. So I've got my last 2 stitches. I've got a bobble to do. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 stitches, and remember you've still got that loop there, so you'll have 6 loops on your hook. 5 stitches and that 1 loop. Pull through them all and do your last double crochet. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep these 2 stitches on my hook, and I'm going to show you how, if you want, you can change your yarn. You don't have to. Don't worry about it curling. It will straighten out when we do the next rows. You can carry on with it in that colour. But if you want to change the colour the way I did, I'm going to do 2 rows in the lighter colour. So to change your yarn, this is a good way if you need to change any yarn on any of your projects. If you keep those last 2 stitches on, I'll show you what I did again. I did my last UK double crochet. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. Keep your 2 loops on the hook. Take your new colour of yarn and pull it through those 2 loops. Just keep the tail down there. Now I'm going to leave my blue. I'm leaving that dark one because we'll pull it up when we do the next set of colours. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to put 1 UK double crochet, that's a single crochet if you're in the USA, into each stitch. Now we're going to go into this first space here. Now the next one, you're going to use this long top stitch of your bobble and that little stitch there. So the next one, you go under that long top stitch, you can see them there, and then in to that stitch there, that space. Now in, it's almost like you're going in to the top of your last stitch. You've got a big stitch and a little stitch. Just give it a little turn, a big stitch and a little stitch. Go in there and put 1 in to each stitch. Remember that space. If you lose your stitch count, it could be because you're not going into that space. Remember that space, that's your stitch. Give your work a little turn so you can see it. There's a long stitch, a small stitch, a long stitch and a small stitch. So pick up the 2 parts of that stitch and then in to the space that's there, into the big stitch, into that little stitch, all the way along your chain. Just make sure that when you do that big stitch, you only pick up those last 2 strands in through there, and then 1 into the end. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do our 1 stitch in our bobble stitch, 1 stitch in the bobble stitch, and that is a UK double crochet, that's a USA single, into the very first stitch, and then we're going to do our bobble stitch. That's 5 stitches into the next one, and it'll put your bobble right on the top of this one. So into there, put your 5 stitches, do your cluster of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Pull through them all and do your double or single crochet, whatever country you're in, into the next stitch, and then a bobble all the way along, and that's the 2 rows you'll keep repeating. That's me done 5. Pull through them all and do my little stitch down here. So I've got my last bobble done, and I've got my last stitch down here. I'm going to go in and do my UK double crochet. It's a USA single. Now I've got my 2 stitches there, and I want to change my yarn again. This pattern is only 2 rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that blue and bring this one up. Do it quite slack. Don't pull it tight, and just pull the stitch through. Make sure that thread there is not tight. Chain 1 and turn, and that's you changed your yarn back. Just follow the pattern and do it for as big as you want it to be. So into that very first space, we'll do our UK double crochet. Now remember you've got a long stitch. So remember you've got a long stitch and a small stitch, a long stitch and a small stitch. We're going to do a row of double crochets. Okay, I'm going to chain one and turn. So my second row, straight in there with that small stitch, and then I'm going to do a bobble in the next stitch. So that's my cluster of 5. 1, 2. You'll notice that we've still got that loop there, so we've got 1, 2 stitches, 3, 4, and 5. Pull through them all and then do your little stitch in the next one, and then a bobble. Now what I suggest is you finish on that small stitch row, your double crochet. It's a USA singles. Finish your blanket on that row, not the bobble row, on that little row. That's the 2 rows you'll keep repeating. And what you're going to get is something as beautiful as this. I'm doing my blanket, I've done my chain long enough that I'm going to have this go up and down this way. I'm making a blanket for my granddaughter's stroller, pram, buggy. I started with the lilac, then done white, lilac and white. Each one is 2 rows. Each section is 2 rows. I've already done that. That's the way I'll finish it. If you want to finish your blanket, finish it on that double crochet row. So once I've done that, I'm going to go back, do my blue, then I'll do the pink, and then I'll do that lilac on the end. I just don't have the time because I'm still looking after Muttley. Muttley's got slip discs in his spine and he needs quite a bit of aftercare. For a border, you don't really need a border because it's quite neat on the edge. It's quite neat on the bottom and neat on the top. If you do want a border, you could put UK treble crochets, a few rows of UK treble crochets. That's double crochets if you're in the USA. On the corner you'll put 2 stitches, 2 chain and 2 stitches in and work your way up. Just do it evenly up here, maybe one here and one in the, maybe 1 stitch here and 1 in the joint, 1 here, 1 in the joint, all the way up nice and even, and then 1 into each stitch. You can do a few rounds like that and you can have a border if you want it. But I think it's nice and straight like this. It's nice and straight on the edge as well. As you can see, it's got a nice straight edge too. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to everyone who's been asking about Muttley's health. If you're just watching this for the first time, I've got a dachshund with a long back and he got some slip discs. He is making some recovery. It's slow, but perseverance. He will be hopefully not dashing around. We'll just have to take our time with it, one day at a time for him. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel, who's been buying me a cup of coffee. Now all the coffee donations now are going to be put into what I'm going to call a Muttley fund. As some people might know, I had insurance for Muttley and I've had it for a few years, and unfortunately when the disc slipped in his spine and I took him to the vet, we were all quite distressed. So was Muttley, obviously, and then I got an even bigger shock that his insurance cover these days is not enough to cover in case he does need that operation. It just barely covered the MRI scan on his spine. So I'm still dealing with all the other little bits of the vet bills as well. So anyone who donates on the Ko-fi page, that money is going to be set aside for Muttley's care. And I want to thank everyone who's become a member on my channel, who's clicked on that link underneath the video and donated a cup of coffee or whatever they can, which will go in to Muttley's aftercare fund. And I really do appreciate that. I really do. He's a little star on this channel, and he does frequently show on the channel as well. Just hopefully I'll just have to keep him that he's not as boisterous as he was before. So please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, it's completely free to subscribe to the channel. And if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.